guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Depending on which thumbnail I decide to go with, you're either going to see smug conservatives almost understand the men's dating crisis, or guy swipes 2 million times for one match, but somehow it's his fault. Either one's pretty accurate in this case. And, Matt seems to have all the answers, even though he's been married for, I think, 15 or 20 years. He's got, I don't know, a handful of kids, 3 or 4 now. I'm not sure how many. He obviously did a very good job in selecting his wife, but things have changed a little bit since he was in his dating days. And he decides to come out with a video called Matt Walsh Breaks Down the Worst Dating Profile on the Internet. If I came out with a title like that, Joker Breaks Down the Worst Dating Profile on the Internet, you'd expect me reading a profile of Rebecca, the nurse, with 6 kids from 5 different baby daddies, and she's on welfare, and you need to step up and at least be 6 foot tall, 6-pack, and all the things. Matt apparently thinks the worst dating profile on the internet is an average-sized guy that likes to fish. I'm not kidding. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to play this video by him, but it's another example of conservatives not really, they sort of get the dating pool, but then they do the same thing everybody else does, which is men just need to be better, even if it's for substandard women on dating apps. And number 2, and this is the part that bothers me the most, he blames the guy and says, just be better.
There's a story circulating on social media that sounds like a modern urban legend, and maybe it is. The Daily Dot reports on a Tinder user who allegedly managed to score exactly 1 date in the course of 5 years, despite, as the story goes, swiping right on more than 2 million women. Now, this claim was posted initially on Reddit, complete with the guy's Tinder stats and some images of his profile. It then made its way to X in a post that's now been viewed over 20 million times. And I'll show you some of the images that have been posted, but I'm going to blur out the guy's face and his name just in case these images have somehow been posted without his permission. I have no reason to think that they have been. So there you can see his alleged Tinder stats, and then you can see some of the pictures on his profile.
Now, let me stop here just for a minute. Let's for the sake of argument, for argument's sake, let's say he took 1 second to swipe on every profile. Now, I know some guys just flick, and you could get through 5 of them in a second. But let's, for argument's sake, say he took 1 second just to look at the pictures. If we divide that by 60 seconds, that's 33,333 minutes. And if we divide that by 60 again, that is 555 hours. If we divide that by 24, he's wasted 23.148, almost 23 days in 5 years, almost an entire month. Now, if you dedicated that much time to the gym, to a hobby, to making friends, to working a little bit more, imagine how much further along in your life you'd be than this guy, wasting all that time on 2 million swipes. All right, here's you can see his photo a little bit larger, and he is not an overweight guy. He looks to be in pretty good shape, actually. I know I can't really make this much bigger, but he's not a big dude. Like, this is not a big guy. He looks to be in pretty good shape. So let's just get that out there, which will debunk just about everything Matt has to say from this point onward.
Showing off the fish that he caught. We can also see that he works as an equipment operator at Don't Worry About It. And he notes that if you don't like fishing, he's not interested in you. And we also see him in a hoodie with a vulgar sexual reference. His interests, along with fishing and camping, include memes. So it is, in other words, and I don't say this to be mean, it is a dating profile specifically constructed to be as unappealing to women as possible. It is those scientists who worked in a lab to concoct the most perfect kind of woman repellent. And again, I don't say that to be rude to this guy. I have empathy for him, but I'm just being honest about it. This is one of the problems here. It's a really awful dating profile.
Matt's doing the same thing that I just said last night in my video that I talked about about Myron Gaines, saying you must improve yourself. You must validate yourself. You must make sure that you're presentable and desirable, the most desirable you can be in a dating profile. And otherwise, if you're your authentic self, you're not trying hard enough.
Now, let's assume that this story is real for the sake of discussion, and it's worth talking about because regardless of the specifics of this alleged case, it does in many ways represent the problem that a huge number of young men are facing. Now, most men may not strike out 2 million times, but they are striking out a lot. And so much that it has convinced millions of young men to essentially give up on the dating scene entirely. By now, you're familiar with the very bleak statistics, which all prove that our friend here is not alone in his reported plight. Over 60% of men between the ages of 18 and 29 are single, which doubles the rate for women in the same age bracket, because obviously that means that a lot of these women are dating older guys. And by the age of 35, about 40% of men will not be married. The average age of marriage for men is now over 30 for the first time in American history. In fact, 20% of single men have never even been on a date in their entire lives. So all of these numbers are historic highs, and they are all also much higher for men than for women. Now, before we talk about what guys like Tinder Dude could do differently in light of these facts, we should acknowledge that, first of all, this really sucks. I mean, it is a tragedy on a societal scale. I have immense compassion for any young man struggling in this way.
Now, before he continues on, let me just ask a question. So if women, younger women are dating older men, younger women are a large percentage of them, a disturbingly large percentage of them are doing only fools. There are literally millions of clips of women being unreasonable in what they want in a man and what they're looking for and what they expect of a man. You would think that Matt somewhere in this entire rant would blame women, but he doesn't. All he does is blame men for not being brave enough to talk to women in the real world and men not improving themselves so much that women want them.
One of the first things we learn about men in the Bible is that men are not meant to be alone. A man is meant to find a wife and become one flesh with her, and from their flesh to create their own family, which will carry on his name and lineage. So it's incredibly devastating for a man to feel like he may never be able to fulfill that great vocation. We should also acknowledge that although women may also struggle in their own way to find a good match, they do have it significantly easier than men. I mean, just taking Tinder as an example, women swipe right on an average of about 4 to 14% of profiles. Men swipe right on up to 70% of profiles. And yet, women get far more matches, up to 10 times more matches, if not more than that. And this pattern repeats on pretty much every dating app, every dating site. It is not oversimplifying to say that a woman, in order to find interested men, only needs to be not morbidly obese. If a woman can simply keep herself in decent shape, she is virtually guaranteed to garner interest on the dating market.
Spoiler alert, women can still be morbidly obese and still get attention from men. Matt is really talking about the 80-20 rule, although now at this point in time, it's about the 90-10 or 95-5. That's what he's talking about. And he's basically saying that if women are so selective, it should be everybody kind of has an equal chance on dating apps if, of course, they lined you up with somebody that's on a similar level than you. But they have a tendency to show you the best-looking profiles because they want you to keep interested by looking at all the pretty people and thinking you have a chance. And they don't really show the average profiles that much. That's part of it. This is a business model where if you do succeed, you're not a customer anymore. And they definitely want you to be a customer. As a matter of fact, they want to titillate you just enough that you decide to pay for the opportunity to match with somebody. But even he's admitting in the numbers that he's stating, the vast majority of women do not find the vast majority of men attractive. Have men just fallen off all of a sudden and are now less attractive than any time in history? Or are their preferences out of control? Are their expectations too high? And are they only meeting up with the best men and they're all sleeping with the best men? If you didn't watch the video I did yesterday, literally women said she'd rather be passed around by the top men than settle for a 5 who she feels like she has to take care of a home with. And she herself is a 3, if you saw the photo of her. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, I suggest you do.
It really is that simple. And the reason to point this disparity out isn't just to complain that it's unfair. The point is that the disparity feeds the problem. The easier it is for women on the dating market, the harder it gets for men. Because the problem has a compounding effect. It compounds exponentially. This is because men not only have lots of competition, but also a woman's standards are raised higher and higher, often to an unreasonable degree. A moderately attractive woman on a dating app might rule out all moderately attractive men, and then she might start adding other unreasonable demands. She gets pickier as the men get more desperate. Now a moderately attractive woman, or even a moderately unattractive one, might narrow her field to only men above 6 feet in height who earn an income, 3 or 4 times above the national average or whatever it is. The effect is that decent-looking guys with decent jobs find themselves very often cut out. A man has to be exceptional to attract interest, A woman has to be just not fat.
He nails it. So he sees it, right? He sees it. He knows it. He understands it. He has called it out. Now, does he continue on calling out women being unreasonable? No. Does he call out society? Does he call out marriage problems? Does he call out dating statistics? Does he call out for women to lower their standards or return to normal levels of not craziness? Of course not. He couldn't do that. No matter how good you make yourself, it will never be enough for modern women.
And this is the dynamic that millions of young men are dealing with, especially if their access to the dating world is facilitated primarily or solely through dating apps. So, what can a young man do about all of this? Well, let's go back to Tinder dude and use him as a case study. What can he do about all of this? Well, the first thing he could do about all this is accept that he can't do anything about any of it. The dynamics that I just outlined cannot be changed or fixed by any one guy. It's extremely unfortunate that the dating scene works this way, but that is how it works. As a young single guy, you have only two choices. Flipping a magic switch and making it better is not one of them. So the choices are these. You can give up and resign yourself to being alone and lonely and sad forever, or you can try your best to succeed in spite of these enormous challenges.
See, the phrasing that Matt always uses, you can be alone, you can be lonely, you can be miserable, you can be all the negatives. They always assign negativity with being single, with being alone. I'm not saying that guys are, going, your first choice is, I want to be alone forever by myself. But given the choices, he says, will you keep trying, or you consign yourself to a life of being alone and unhappy and lonely? What about, and here's a crazy idea, what about both? Instead of saying, I'm going to be alone and lonely and miserable and all, instead of assigning a negative, how about you say, something, I am alone. I guess I might be alone. I'm going to better myself. I'm going to get a job I love, something I'm passionate about. I'm going to do hobbies I love. I'm going to have friends and maybe spend some time with family and people that I actually care about. I'm going to do great things with my life as it is. And in the same token, I'm going to try to improve myself for myself, because that's always the key. I'm going to improve myself for myself. And if I don't meet somebody, I'm going to keep trying. But if I don't meet somebody, I'm going to be okay. Matt just makes it sound like, well, you're either with somebody and you get married and have children and it's happily ever after, or you're going to be lonely and miserable and sad the rest of your life. Ask a guy that's had a wife and a couple of kids and she runs him into the ground and takes all his money and takes the custody of the kids away and takes half his retirement funds and takes his house away. Ask him how happy he is, because now he is also alone, just like the single guy is. He's alone, except he's lost a bunch of his crap, including access maybe to his kids, and he's going to probably be a pretty unhappy man. I contest that you can have two things at once. In this case, you can be happy, single, and alone and living your best life with good people and surround yourself with good things, and you can still look if you want to. But Matt doesn't see the two things as, I guess, a viable option at the same time.
You can try, or you can not try. Those are the options. I mean, those are the options everywhere in life. Try or not try. And the thing that separates successful people from failures is that successful people, when given that choice, always try. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it is, but it's also true.
But here's a problem with that. If I try to climb a mountain and I fail and I train and I work out hard and I eat the right foods and I get in incredible shape and eventually I climb that mountain, that's on me. That was my hard work, my dedication. I did it. Now you're in a relationship. I can be a good man. I can be dedicated. I can try hard. I can do everything I can to keep a woman happy. Women have free will, and women can leave at any point they want to. And with today's feminism and the message and the ease of divorce and all the other things, there's a 60% chance, 57, 58% chance you're going to get divorced. And there's between 70 and 80% chance she's going to be the one filing it. She's going to be the one tapping out.
But you can only try to change the things that you can actually change. And on the dating scene, that means working on yourself. I mean, you are the only person that you have complete control over. All you can do is make yourself as desirable as possible and put yourself in situations where your chances are as high as possible. For Tinder, dude, he can start with some basic fixes. And, he's in the same situation a lot of guys are in, which is that he's not some like hideous guy. He's just like a normal guy. He's fine. He's fine. He's a normal guy. And so there are like little things that can be fixed that would greatly increase his chances. First of all, get rid of all the fish pictures. I'm impressed by the fish that he caught. Like, those are nice fish, but he's not trying to attract me, I hope. Presumably he's trying to attract women. And a woman's attitude towards fishing will almost always range somewhere between indifference and outright disgust.
Okay. So again, should the guy lie on his profile picture just to get a date, to go out with a woman, and then she finds out he likes to fish, and then she says no? What does he get at that point? He's out $100 for dinner and maybe movies, and he's wasted his time. Why should he do that just to get a date? And if a woman's indifferent, okay, then you can say, well, maybe not every picture should be a fishing. Maybe the guy loves fishing. All he's trying to do is not waste his time. And if 2 million women can't seem to be okay with a guy that likes fishing, that's not really on the guy. That's on women being too selective.
Also, he could project a classier, more sophisticated appearance.
Why? Why should he project a classier, more sophisticated appearance if he's a country good old boy that lives on a farm and likes to fish? Or maybe he lives in the city, but he likes to fish, and he's not a classy, sophisticated guy. Why is the advice that men and all these other channels give, don't be yourself, be somebody that women might be more attracted to? You're not finding a problem with the guy, because even Matt said, well, he seems like a nice, he's an average guy. If he's an average guy and you're telling him he must improve himself to meet an average woman, you're admitting women have priced themselves out of the market. It's not a problem with this guy. It's a problem with the women. Why should he be somebody he's not, more sophisticated? I mean, what the hell?
Now, I don't mean that he needs like a photo of himself smoking a pipe and reading a leather-bound book in his study. I just mean get rid of the picture with the vulgar hoodie. Grown, mature, sophisticated guys don't shop at Spencer's, which I assume is where he got that sweater.
Women will swipe on convicts. Swipe yes. Women will go out with dudes that said they've done inappropriate things with people. I can't even, you know what I'm talking about. There was that famous one where a guy put in there that this guy was fooling around with young people inappropriately, went to jail for it, but because he was super hot, women were still matching with him. So now you're going to say it's a profile problem. No, it's a woman problem.
He should generally get rid of anything that makes it seem like he's the kind of guy who spends hours a day on Reddit. Listing memes as an interest, along with the vulgar hoodie, give off Reddit vibes. And it makes it seem like when you're not fishing, you spend all of your time online. There's no woman in existence who is looking for a man who spends all of his time online.
See, Matt's reading into it. The guy just said he likes memes. Raise your hand if you like memes. I like memes. As a matter of fact, over on Locals, on our page on Locals, I think we've got a post with 20,000 memes on it, all shared by everybody. If an average guy can't post an average profile and get any interest, it is not the problem of that average guy. It is the average woman is now out of touch.
These are all easy fixes that would take about 3 minutes to implement. And then we move on to the harder things. This guy needs to get in really good shape.
Why? He's not fat. He's not a big boy. Why does he have to get in really good shape? Why doesn't he have to just be average? Why can he not just be healthy? But you guys saw the picture. He's not a big guy. He's very average, if not better than average.
I have time for it. You definitely do. I cannot tell you how often I talk to young men who say that they've done everything they can to find a woman, and yet I can look at them and tell that everything apparently didn't include what is arguably the most important thing. Go to the gym and get in shape.
I agree, but Matt, we're talking about the guy that swiped 2 million times and got one match. He's not overweight. He's not unattractive. Matt said himself before they blurred it that he's a pretty average looking guy. Okay, you said him. You're now painting a different picture. You're now on a different tangent. You're not talking about the guy we were just talking about. Why? Because he can't point to that guy and say he's a sloven mess.
I mean, if you haven't gone to the gym and gotten into shape, you have not done everything. You haven't done most of the things that you could be doing. You can't help your height. And if you aren't rich, that's not something you can necessarily fix quickly or ever, but you can drop down to the floor right now and rip off some push-ups. You simply have no excuse not to be. Women these days may be too picky in certain ways, but you can't blame them for not wanting a doughy, flabby guy.
He is not a doughy, flabby guy. Matt keeps changing who we're talking about. How many of you guys out there struggle with dating? And ask yourself, I am a doughy, flabby man. Some of you may say, yeah, that's okay. Guilty as charged. But how many of you guys say, no, I'm pretty average? Or actually, I go to the gym. I'm pretty healthy, but I'm only 5'8", or I'm only 5'9". Or I'm bald, or I wear thick glasses and I can't wear contacts, whatever. The point is, nothing you do is good enough. And at no point does he call it, he identifies that women are out of touch, but at no point does he call them out.
That is biological hardwiring. Women are attracted to strength. The only way to reliably attract women if you're not in good shape is to either be rich or extremely funny. Those are the two things that can get over the hurdle of you being a bit of a slob.
For a while. No woman's going to marry an extremely funny, ugly, poor dude. Now, will she go on a date with him? Yes, maybe. Especially if he's the center of the attention and has high social value. Yes, she will go out with him. Will she even sleep with him? Yeah. Will she date him seriously? No. Will she stay with him? No. Will she marry him? No. Will she give him kids? No. Unless she's already got 3 kids from the hot guy down at the gym, and she's got money from her second divorce, or her first divorce, which was the payday. Then maybe, if you're a nice blue-pilled guy that'll take care of the kids and make her laugh, maybe she'll throw you a bone once a week. But let's be realistic. That doesn't work.
But, you aren't rich, and you probably aren't that funny. So if you're also adding out of shape to the list, then you've put yourself in a hole that you might not be able to climb out of.
So far, Matt's only argument for really anything you can control is be in shape. And he keeps hitting on that one hard.
Also, even if you are like stand-up comedian level funny, that's not going to come across in a dating profile. Dating apps are a visual medium. You need to be able to show something visually that will separate you from the pack. And that really leaves either physical fitness or money. And those are the two things that can come across quickly in a picture.
Both shallow. Now, I understand dating apps in and of themselves are shallow. But how many women are not, they're just not even giving guys that show off money a chance if they're unattractive. Now, again, they will if they've got only fools or they're in it for the money, but that's not the type of woman you want to date. So Matt's pretty much boiling it down to basically get in really good shape and maybe that'll help. And if that doesn't help, you're screwed. Thanks, Matt. Or we could say it's women.
And that brings us to the last point. Dating apps operate in one dimension. You are reduced to a picture and a few details on a screen. We like to think of this as kind of a modern, cutting-edge approach to dating, but it's actually extremely primitive. It's even animalistic. Because on a dating app, as a man, the mating ritual reduces you to the level of a bird in the rainforest, trying to attract the female's attention by showing off your colorful feathers and bright, elaborate plumage.
If we were going to sum up dating apps today, it would be dating apps for men. It's good for the top 5% of men to swipe on a bunch of women and sleep with a bunch of women. And for women, it's for a bunch of women to get slept with by really good-looking guys and then ghosted until they become bitter feminists. That's really what dating apps do today. That's it, nothing more.
Only in your case, you're competing against thousands of other birds occupying the same tree branch. Only about 5 to 10% of the male birds have feathers impressive enough to even be in the running.
Why? Expand on it, Matt. You've got it right in your hand. Expand on it.
The other 95% are dancing around and making fools of themselves basically for no reason. Prior to dating apps taking over the world, we as humans had developed a far more sophisticated and meaningful process for finding a mate. And it involved meeting a woman in person out somewhere in the world where she would assess your desirability based on more than just a cursory glance of your physical features and your employment history.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there because we've kind of made the point that I wanted to make, and he just expands on this a little bit more. Let me ask you this. I'll ask you this, guys. You can pick up your phone and get free pizza and free cheeseburgers and free hot wings and free ice cream and free cake and free donuts and free coffee whenever you want. You can get, all you have to do is pick up your phone and push a picture of the food you want to eat, and you will get it at your door in 20 minutes. Are you going to suddenly decide, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go grow a field of wheat and raise cows so I can have bread and steak. Are you going to go out there and grow your own vegetables and tend your own garden for your own food? No, you're not. Why? Why would you not jump through the hoops and do the manual labor of growing your own stuff? Because you don't need to. Because you can just pick up a phone, push a couple of colored buttons, and you get exactly what you want. Yes, dating in the real world still happens. No, not all women are on the dating apps. But so many of them are that you're going to tell me that a woman that can get on Tinder and sleep and hook up with and go on dates with guys that are 8s, 9s, and 10s, you're going to tell me that in the real world, a 6 woman is going to have a 6 guy come up to her and say, hey, you seem pretty cool. I'd like to get your number. And she's going to say yes. You're going to tell me because he's funny or interesting. How's he going to meet her? At a club? At a bar? You can't just walk up to the woman out of a blue. They don't like that anymore. I don't know if you've paid attention to, say, the internet in the last 10 years, Matt. They don't like that anymore. As a matter of fact, they make fun of you and will put you on blast. They call out guys for glancing north when the woman is slightly northeast in the gym, and then put them on blast for glancing at her for half a second, and then it's shared all over the internet. So you're going to tell me a guy should go up and talk to him? What's going to happen to that guy? She's going to look at him and say, ew, a 6. I just slept with an 8 last week who's supposedly going to call me again and we're going to smash and hang out again. Why would I waste my time with a 6? Yeah, we're in the real world. Yeah, we're face to face. And sure, he's funny and kind of interesting. But I got Chad Chattington and Tyrone Thunderstroke both waiting to take me out for a cup of coffee and to, fold me inside out like origami. Why am I going to waste my time with this? See, Matt doesn't realize that dating in the real world and Tinder commingle. Like they cross paths, they cross streams. And you don't want to cross streams, as the Ghostbusters have taught us. These women will not go out and just accept if they have other options on a dating app. Now, you may have met a woman who's so burnt out on dating apps because all these good-looking guys keep turning her out, and then she realized it's not for her, and so now maybe she's ready after, triple-digit body counts to settle down with a guy. Do you think, as a guy, is that what you want? I don't think so. Matt seems to forget that as long as women have the options on the internet, as long as women have the ability to just sleep with a guy that is 2 or 3 rungs higher than them, and hypergamy exists and is so accessible, that most guys do not have a genuine chance in the world. Something magical would have to happen. And it's not to say that it doesn't happen. There's still plenty of guys going out and dating plenty of women. It does still happen, and it happens relatively a lot. But for so many men that are actually selective, that are a little bit choosy, that actually may have morals and standards that they have and that they impose on the woman they want to date, for those guys, there's not much out there. Yeah, you can find a woman. Does it mean her body count's okay? Does it mean that she's going to be a cook? Or does it mean that she's going to be reliable or not cheat on you or not leave you and give you children and not be a feminist? And if you haven't read Aaron Clary's book of Numbers, Aaron Clary, friend of the show, friend of mine, if you haven't read his book of Numbers, he breaks it all down. You've got less than a 1% chance to meet a woman that's not a leftist, that actually wants to have kids, that's not on SSRIs, that doesn't have other issues, that, the odds get pretty slim. Doesn't have all the too many tattoos or the piercings or everything else. And Matt's answer to this is just be better, guys. Just be better. That's all the advice anybody has. And because the only reason they have the advice of be better men is the other option is just saying women are too picky. Women, lower your standards. And they can't do that. or they won't do that. And ironically, neither will the women. So it's not to say you don't try. It's not to say that you don't, put yourself out there. You don't ask women out. You don't give it a chance. Please do if dating's important to you. And through trial and error, you will improve your pickup, and you'll improve how to ask a girl out without getting nervous, and you'll improve things that make you seem funny and lighthearted. That's all great. But at the end of the day, you better be ready and prepared to spend the rest of your life alone. Because unless you want to settle, which I don't think any man should settle, unless you're willing to settle, the options of you finding a good woman are getting slimmer and slimmer by the day. Guys, if you like my work, make sure to join me over at betterbachelor.locals.com. We got a great community of like-minded guys over there. We do live streams. We have a lot of fun. We posts, topics. We talk about all things important to men. And if you need a good community of like-minded guys to hang out with, go check it out. It's $5 a month. It puts up a paywall. It means I can stream movies, and we can talk about anything we want to, relatively uncensored and unfiltered, which is what we do most of the time. So go on over and check it out today, betterbachelor.locals.com. I'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next one.